Welcome to PayMeSouthwest, a free platform brought to you by A2J Tech. We are a company focused on access to justice, and access to justice also means that you should be entitled to solutions and remedies as a consumer, especially after what has transpired in the last few days with Southwest Airlines. To give a little bit of context on what has happened in the last few days, after some critical weather conditions that started in around December 22nd and December 23rd, some flights from Southwest Airlines and other airlines started to get canceled or substantially delayed. However, in the case of Southwest Airlines specifically, multiple flights were canceled, delayed, baggage was lost, and many people needed to navigate the circumstances of the situation with what they had. Now, it has been recorded that over 16,000 flights, again, that number could change, but based on the last few articles in news, it sounds like that number could still go up, but Southwest Airlines is still canceling and delaying flights at this stage. Why? Because how their system operates is different than other airlines. Now, Southwest Airlines, because of that issue, has come out and said in a statement that they will honor and reimburse reasonable expenses for those passengers that have incurred in those expenses due to delayed or canceled flights. Those expenses, and we're gonna discuss a bit about them, could be in three different categories: meals, hotels, and alternate transportation, and we're gonna speak about those in a bit. But before explaining how the process works, PayMeSouthwest has a variety of resources available to you, including a link to request your reimbursement with the link at the bottom of this video, but we're going to explain how the process works. So if you go to our website, we are also going to provide the FAQs and additional resources so you can understand how the process works. But the first thing to be aware of is that after all this situation, Southwest Airlines created southwestairlines.com/travel disruption. If we go to that website, here you will find the information that Southwest Airlines has posted about the situation that they are going through. So you're going to have different options and different issues that you can do on this page. First is that you can check your flight status or rebook a flight. Again, Southwest Airlines has their own processes. We, as A2J Tech, we are not affiliated with Southwest Airlines. All we're trying to do is provide information to navigate this circumstance. The second thing that you can do on this website is request a refund if you have an unused ticket, and you can request that refund to the original form of payment. Let's just be aware that a refund is different than a reimbursement of expenses. A refund is applicable for those unused tickets, even though Southwest Airlines says that it's from a period beginning on December 24th through January 2nd. Be mindful that there are still flights that are getting canceled, and there were some flights that got canceled even before that. So ideally, you want to check with Southwest Airlines if you can still request a refund if you did not use your ticket. And the third issue that you can do on this website is also locate your luggage. We know that many passengers that were stranded at airports either got separated from the luggage or needed to find alternate transportation methods. So you can fill out a form to locate and try to locate your luggage or your bags with Southwest Airlines. So now we're gonna go to the issue at hand, but there are some things to point out before we show you the process on how to request a refund. First, even though Southwest Airlines is saying that the reimbursement of reasonable expenses is applicable for those flights between December 24th and January 2nd, 2023, be aware that there were some flights that got canceled or delayed even before then, even before December 24th, and it seems possible that flights are still getting canceled up to January 3rd, maybe January 4th. We're still unsure to the date that those cancellations are going to happen. In the last few days, Southwest Airlines has been changing this website, and therefore our information will be also changed accordingly. We're trying to monitor the situation as closely as possible. So just be aware that if you got a flight that got delayed or canceled before those dates, we urge you to still submit your request for reimbursement, and if there are other remedies that we will discuss and show you with our platform. The second thing to consider is that even though Southwest Airlines mentions that they will reimburse those expenses, they have changed some of the wording around it. Okay, so now they are providing some examples. Before they were not doing that. So just be aware that this could still change in the following days. The third thing to note is that Southwest Airlines says that they will honor reasonable requests for reimbursement. Okay, we don't have a disclaimer or a definition from Southwest Airlines on what reasonable means. Again, from our perspective, reasonable should mean any expense that was needed to survive or basically navigate the circumstance due to a delay or cancellation from the flight. Hopefully, we're going to have more clarification from Southwest Airlines on what reasonable means. But for now, we don't have clarification on that term. However, Southwest Airlines has said that they are taking three main categories in order to request your reimbursement. First goes to meals, so that could mean food at a restaurant. Say you ate at Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, any small kiosk at an airport. That could enter into the category of meals. The second category are hotel accommodations, and the third are alternate transportations, in which now Southwest has given some clarification that means rental cars, tickets on other airlines. However, it could also be extended to if you took an Uber, you took a cab or a taxi, you took a bus in order to arrive to your destination. There are multiple ways to understand this third category. On the second category, just as a small footnote, even though it says hotel accommodations, if you spent on an Airbnb or an alternate accommodation, we still suggest that you enter that request for reimbursement, because we still don't have clarification from Southwest if that is only applicable for hotels, or it could also be applicable to other accommodation methods such as an Airbnb, etc. And the final thing to note before we go into the process on how to request a reimbursement is that you need to attach copies of your expenses for review. That means that someone from Southwest Airlines is going to review your expenses, and you need evidence or some sort of documentation with those expenses. So let's go through three different scenarios to explain how you might be able to provide evidence or documentation for those expenses. First, let's talk about cash transactions. At airports, it could be possible that you went into a vending machine or a kiosk in which you paid with cash. You paid $10 for a sandwich or $5 for a drink, and sometimes on those transactions, rarely you get a receipt, or you didn't get a receipt from a vending machine. So what do you do on those circumstances? What we are suggesting at this point, and again, taking into consideration that there's no additional clarification from Southwest Airlines, is creating a small spreadsheet or table in which you, to your best recollection and based on your memory, you enter the amount of the expense, the nature of that expense, meaning if it was a meal, if it was a hotel accommodation, or an alternate transportation. Third, a description on what item did you get. So for instance, if it was a vending machine, you can say, I got a sandwich at vending machine near gate 28. And finally, the date in which that transaction happened. Again, this is to make up for the lack of receipts whenever there's a cash transaction. That is scenario number one. Now let's go to scenario number two. And that's when you have a credit card or a debit card transaction. If you didn't have a receipt based on that transaction, you can see your credit card statements. You can take a look at the latest transactions that happened during those days in which your flight got canceled. If you're not familiar in how you can see your credit card statement, you can go into your online banking, or you can contact your bank and they will provide that statement for you. So with that, you can also use that as evidence to show the expenses that you incurred due to the cancellation or the delay of flights from Southwest Airlines. And the third and final scenario is if you indeed have a receipt. If you have a receipt, take pictures, scan them, or have a way to digitally record those expenses. It's important to keep track of that. Or the second is if it's a digital receipt, always keep them on a folder on your computer or on your phone, but it's important to keep those receipts. If you don't have a receipt in any type of transaction that you did, it's important to try and request a copy of that receipt from the business or establishment if it's possible. Again, if it's a vending machine, you will not be able to have a receipt from that transaction. And that's when we are urging you to use the spreadsheet or table approach. But if you don't have any other solutions to having a receipt, again, just take into consideration that until there's further clarification from Southwest Airlines, we should try to remediate the circumstance with that approach. And based on those three scenarios, if you already have, again, your digital receipts, your physical receipts, your Excel spreadsheet, or whatever record or ledger of your expenses, now you can go and request that reimbursement. And here we're gonna explain how you can do this process. And again, at the bottom of this video, you will be able to go directly into the form to request a reimbursement. So if we use on the FAQs this option, you're gonna see how now Southwest Airlines has created a specific category, likely because they were getting bombarded on other categories to contact them, that they have created a new category that is expense reimbursement request. So I click this, I click next, and I'm gonna get a prompt with the information that I need to fill out. Okay. On your description, we suggest giving details on what flight got canceled, on which date, how much time you spent on the airport, or for how many days, because we are aware that many people were stranded for days at a time. and also give a quick description of the expenses and the total amount. That is something that you have to add a description. Then on add attachments, you need to upload or all of your files, or what that means, all of your receipts. So we go back to the previous points, take pictures, scan them, but it's important that you provide that evidence. It's important to note that you will be able to submit it in multiple files, so you can submit them in a PDF, in a Word document, as a picture, as an Excel spreadsheet. So it's important that you have compatible formats. If you're having issues uploading an attachment, it is likely because it could be a formatting issue, or it could be a size issue because you have a limit of files. So if you have issue with the file size, be aware that you can do two different options. One is that you can create a zip folder, meaning a compressing a folder with multiple files. That is number one. Or the second option, if that doesn't work, is to centralize your screenshots or your documents in one single document. So you can add screenshots on a Word document, or add a screenshot of your Excel spreadsheet or table within one single document. You can render that as a final PDF Word document, and you can upload that file. And finally, you're gonna have to add all other expenses, the total expenses on each category on the website, and all of your personal information, so they can check that you were a passenger in that flight and that you had a valid ticket with Southwest Airlines. So that's how you request a reimbursement of expenses from Southwest Airlines. In their website, you're also gonna find additional resources. And just be aware that if Southwest Airlines, for any reason, is not willing to provide or honor those reimbursements, you can submit a consumer claim with the Department of Transportation. If you go into our website and you click FAQs, we provide a link directly to the Department of Transportation form in which you can submit your claim as a consumer. So we hope that this is helpful. Again, we understand that many of you have suffered in the last few days with this situation. Maybe you have not been able to get home, but we hope that this is helpful, and we're going to keep monitoring this situation closely and provide as many updates as we can. So thank you again, and we hope to keep you updated and to keep helping you navigate this circumstance.